Mina Pelingana Nina Miladena Miladena Ningi Mana Varankli Luina Ningimpi Nara Palawa Mapali Pelingana. I welcome you to this country, the skies, water and land of my mother, her grandmother and their people. Welcome.
Welcome everyone to a conversation series we're calling City Heart Conversations in relation to a project that we're undertaking for the City Heart of Clarence. My name is Callum Pask and I'm the Manager of Communications and Strategic Development at Clarence City Council. And with me today, I've also got Sarah Bendai, the Project Manager for City Heart, and we're joined by Sharnie. Sharnie, I might ask you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Sharnie Read. I'm a Palawa woman from Lutruwita, so Tasmanian Aboriginal woman. I'm a mother of 3 beautiful children, and my background is work within Aboriginal heritage management, and I've done that for about 28 years now. I also work for the Tasmanian Aboriginal Centre in regards to running a project called Rala Tina 2, which is Strong in Country. And in that role, I take community members out on country to engage in our cultural heritage, in our history, and to share the cultural knowledge that we have the ability to share when we're on country. So that's one of my main roles. For this particular project, I'm on board as a heritage advisor in regards to the importance of Aboriginal history and heritage and connection within the space of the project.
Fantastic. And, we've been having these conversations very relaxed, really to give people another opportunity to understand what we're doing with the project. Maybe they don't have the time to read a 70-page report, and they might have the opportunity just to listen to some audio or watch a video to be able to connect with what we're trying to do in this space. So I might kick off with my first question, Sharnie, which is, around the fact that as part of this project, one of the first questions we asked in the scope was around um, understanding more about the people who first lived here and how community connects with the land underneath the layers of roads, houses, shopping centres that have been developed here in relatively recent times. We know there's interest from the broader community in understanding that past and trying to connect with it. We're wondering if you could share some of this knowledge with us.
Certainly. So one of the things that the Palawa community are really keen to engage in is the truth-telling of history and how it's still connected and how Aboriginal people today are still very much a part of the community, and that it's a living history. There's no gap. It's not in the past. It's still connected, and Aboriginal people have that knowledge, whether it's the knowledge of the harshness of the invasion or the knowledge of traditional cultural practices, traditional life in all regions of Lutruwita. Now, the project area itself is quite a special space, and particularly its pathways that lead from inland country to coastal country, and Aboriginal people's knowledge and understanding of those pathways, and the ongoing connection to those spaces is still there. It's still real, and these projects allow us opportunity to share that knowledge. Traditionally, we are talking about the country of the Oyster Bay tribe, and in a more specific kind of aspect, the band within that big tribe. So one of the largest tribes in Tasmania had a number of bands or a number of groups as a part of it. We have the Murrurundi people who are, very, very strongly connected to the project area. So it's their country. And the Palawa people of today are the ongoing custodians. And we, see our cultural responsibility as maintaining cultural links, maintaining cultural knowledge and sharing that knowledge in the way that they did in their family groups and in their tribal groups, and intertribal as well. So it's about sharing that knowledge, showing people that even in contemporary society, Palawa people still see those cultural layers. We're a contemporary people now. We use the roads, we come in and we use the shopping, we drive the cars. That doesn't mean we don't see the pathways. We don't see the country of our old people and that we don't continue those cultural practices, because we do. It's about growing knowledge and values in a greater sense within the greater community about how important they are to us all and to the history of our island.
That's fantastic, Sharnie. And I think we're really interested as well in understanding how you think the project might be able to help share some of those stories in the place. Do you have some ideas?
It's about looking for opportunities and opportunities that will assist the Aboriginal story. So you can put up as many signs, if you like, written kind of aspects of history. That's not a traditional way for Aboriginal people to share knowledge. So whilst it does share knowledge, and we don't disregard that as a method, it's not the preferred or culturally appropriate way to share knowledge. So projects like this give us opportunities as a community to come in and say, this is how we would like to share cultural knowledge. This is how we like to pass on to others, not just within the Aboriginal community, but in the general community, on how our cultural identity has been formed over thousands of generations and how we maintain these cultural practices and this cultural sharing of knowledge. And the best way to do that is to find space that is culturally appropriate. And that's not always in four walls. A lot of the time that has to be out on country or within spaces that have those cultural resources accessible. So we all live in a contemporary society. We all know what the weather's been doing lately. Like, it's not always appropriate to be sitting out in the cold weather, and people just won't come to share in that regard. So sometimes it's about creating internal spaces that still give us access to those cultural kind of aspects, to be able to bring in those cultural resources, sit to share that cultural knowledge, and then from that flows those cultural stories, and that is how we tend to share our knowledge. It's the more culturally appropriate way. So looking at a project like this and saying, where are those spaces available, where are those opportunities available, and how as we as a group can all come together to actually create these really culturally appropriate spaces.
Yeah, sharing of knowledge is probably, I mean, it's closely linked, isn't it, to language, and I know that's a really it's a really crucial and cherished part of what the Palawa people have managed to hark back to and remember and build. You've spoken a little bit about place names, Sharnie, in the report, and about the opportunity of language. How do you see that potentially working in the project?
Language is incredibly important, and for us as a community, it's also, given the harshness of the dispossession of our people from our country, and the taking away of the ability for us to speak language, it's taken us over 40 years to rebuild Palawakani. So, to actually delve into what we have left and create the contemporary language Palawakani. It's almost a cultural identity for us. It's a way of connecting and showing people that we're still here, and that the importance of language is, it's as important as who we are. So to have other people outside of the community on board to understand what cultural language is to us, and how it, supports the growing of cultural identity within the Aboriginal community and within Lutruwita, within Tasmania, to say as a larger community, that we understand the impact of invasion, but we also understand the importance of assisting the Aboriginal community to rebuild those cultural kind of gaps. Language is one way we can do that as a shared community group. So having, whether it's just particular spaces where we can dual name or even just name the Aboriginal language, Palawatani, or bigger areas, whole regions that then carry Palawakani names, is a way for us as a shared community to show the value and respect to the rebuilding of Aboriginal cultural values within Lutruwita.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, Nipaluna and Kunanyi are some great examples of of how naming and language can really be embraced by the whole community. Sharnie, are there any opportunities that you're particularly excited about? And you've talked about places and culturally appropriate spaces. The rivulet spine has sort of come up again and again in the report as a really important feature of the landscape of the city heart. Is there how are you thinking about that space, for example, or is there somewhere else that's special?
There's a number of really beautiful and special culturally connective spaces within the project region, within Clarence. Excuse me. The water, the rivulet itself, you know, it's one of those aspects of country that, excuse me, that really, with water is life. You know, the flow of the water for us, it also represents the flow of knowledge, the flow of culture. Without it, there's so much lost. So to be able to put language to a special space like a rivulet, where we can, you know, grab so many opportunities for the rebuilding of cultural resources, rebuilding of spaces where we can come together. That is a really exciting opportunity, in my view, for us to have not just one aspect, not just a language word, but actually a space that, you know, provides for language, that provides for cultural practice, cultural activities, for gathering and for the sharing of knowledge, all in one. You can see how embracing a space like that can really be for the Aboriginal community to feel we have a culturally safe space to share within our community and within the broader community. But it's not the only space. We've got She Oak Point, we've got the whole foreshore. You know, there's just so many beautiful cultural spaces, and those layers of the cultural history are still there. It's about having these, you know, spaces acknowledged so that we can say these are spaces we can share this view, this cultural lens, if you like, on the landscape. So they're almost triggers within the landscape for people to come together. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting opportunity right through the project area.
This is kind of an important milestone in the project, in that there's been a lot of work done by the whole consultant team to try to understand the place, to understand what's happening here at the present day as well, in terms of the growth that we're seeing. As we move into the next phase, Sharnie, this, I guess, where we start to talk about concepts and start to look a bit more at the opportunities that might come from the project. What do you think is important for us to remember as we move into the next phase? What are you particularly focused on in that next phase?
It's about ensuring that, excuse me, sorry, I'm still getting over COVID from 4 weeks ago. It's about ensuring that the Aboriginal community members who live and, you know, access the project area on a frequent basis, whether it's living on the fringes of that particular zone or living within it, are involved, and that they feel that they are a part of those concepts. So bringing people in to actually be a part of it is really, for me, one of those kind of poignant aspects that will make or break it.
Yeah.
They have to have community involvement, and one of the issues that has been raised from Aboriginal community members who live within the space is it is difficult, and not a lot of Aboriginal people have vehicles. They rely on public transport. Excuse me. So it's about that there are other aspects within this project that are going to support Aboriginal community involvement, such as, you know, public transport, access to from within the region out to those outer kind of skirting areas and back in again. It's about, you know, a good communication process with them to ensure that what we do create or what we put forward as proposals are supported and culturally appropriate to them as people that live and play within this region. Ultimately, they're going to be the ones that tell the story, that share the knowledge. And there needs to be spaces that are comfortable for them, that feel safe for them, if we're going to ever have really good cultural sharing and knowledge.
That's fantastic. I guess that, Sarah, I don't know if you've got another question, but I would have the kind of the last one that we're asking everyone, Sharnie, around if someone hadn't read the report and you wanted to leave them with one thing from your point of view for this stage, you wanted them to take away either from this, watching this video, listening to the clip, or wanting to engage with the City Hub, what would it be? What would you leave them with in terms of your point of view?
That this project really offers up some wonderful opportunities to highlight the incredibly deep and beautiful history that goes back much more than just 200 years, much more than just the development of this region, but goes back thousands of generations, and that can really highlight the beautiful values that are still there and that are still part of our wonderful island.
That's fantastic.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sharnie.
Thank you so much, Sharnie. We're looking forward to the next stage. Of course, that will be kind of development of some concepts and then much greater community consultation in sort of February, March, as we look to progress to the next phase of City Heart. So thank you so much for your time today. We really, really appreciate it, and we look forward to hearing more from you in the new year.
No, Nina, too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.